goosebumps every time I hear that music. All this week, we're bringing you a special series, In Search of Aliens, and today we turn to one of the most famous sites across the globe for conspiracy theorists. That's Roswell, New Mexico. 61 years, and the mystery hasn't faded. So what really happened at Roswell? Our space correspondent Miles O'Brien is here with us this morning with more details.
Well, you know what they say, the truth is out there, Kieran. Roswell is the granddaddy of all suspected UFO sightings, and while the government says it can all be explained by some secret military testing, those who insist an alien spaceship crashed there may never be convinced otherwise.
We are in the vicinity of the debris field.
So there I am on hallowed ground for the alien nation, Mecca for Martians, site of the crash we now know as the Roswell incident.
It's a good overlook of where the space and also the debris field where the craft allegedly impacted and broke up.
All right. Allegedly? What do you mean allegedly?
We use alleged a lot.
They sure do. That's Julie Schuster, whose late dad started the whole thing 61 years ago. While serving as the Roswell Air Base public affairs officer, he wrote the press release announcing the U.S. military had found a crashed flying saucer here on this ranch in Corona. Yes, the Roswell incident didn't happen in Roswell. It couldn't have happened in a more remote place, could it?
Could have tried, but I'm not sure if it would have succeeded.
There's no question something very weird crashed here. Everyone agrees on that point, right, Julie? That's
right.
Pretty much in a body of fact.
Yes.
Right?
I take back my alleged.
All right, take back that alleged. Are we ever going to know for sure what happened here?
That's a good question. I'd love to know.
So would I. So would you. So would this guy.
I'm 99% convinced. It's not a belief.
Oh, I forgot. Don Schmidt knows what happened. He's gumshoed Roswell for years, churning out 3 bestsellers with a made-for-TV plot. A thunderstorm, a crashed alien spacecraft, 4 diminutive alien bodies, everything brought to this hangar, then spirited away in the dark, and, of course, a massive government cover-up. What's your theory on why the government doesn't come clean?
I remain convinced that it is still a cover-up of ignorance.
Our government ignorant? I guess that's not an alien concept. I saw Independence Day.
There's no recovered spaceship.
Excuse me, Mr. President. That's not entirely accurate.
Truth be told, over the years, the Pentagon has provided a case study of how not to put out a brush fire on the grassy knoll. First, they said it was a saucer, then a weather balloon, then a secret nuclear explosion detector, then finally a parachute test using crash dummies.
The Air Force research did not locate or develop any information that the Roswell incident was a UFO event, nor any indication of a cover-up.
They called that one the Roswell Report, case closed.
Case closed, right?
Case closed?
No, clearly not. You just don't spend 20 years talking to, eyewitnesses, describing everything contrary to the official explanation, and say you're all lying.
This looks more like silver.
Frankie Rowe was 12 when it happened and got a chance to play with a piece of the wreckage. She remembers some, out-of-this-world properties. How thick was it? Was it like
thinner than
tinfoil?
your hair.
Like tinfoil thickness?
Not that thick. Thinner than a hair.
Really?
When you wadded this up in your hand, you could not feel it in your hand. And then you take it and you drop it on the table. Before it ever hit there, it's flat.
Frankie says a soldier came to her house a few days later and threatened her.
Well, he said, don't talk about it. I didn't talk about it. Now, kids in 47 are total different. I think they're from a different planet than kids today are.
So to speak, right, Frankie?
Because if we were told not to do something, we didn't do it.
Whatever you think about flying saucers, there is one thing that is certain, one thing that everyone can agree on in this story. This 61-year-old mystery has been awfully good for business here in Roswell, New Mexico. And Julie Schuster should know. She runs the UFO Museum, which her dad started in '92. 160,000 now beat a path here every year. And there's a $25 million new building in the works. So a skeptic watching this would say, well, of course you don't want to accept the Air Force explanation. If the case is closed, the tourists stop coming.
I don't think even if it's proven one way or the other, I don't believe it's going to make a difference. It hasn't so far.
So where it stands is really where it all began. For more than 60 years, we've been kind of running in circles in the New Mexico desert. And in Roswell, they've been laughing their way to the bank. Maybe one of these days, someone will find a piece of that magic metal, Kieran.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, though, the way the woman described it, fascinating, that there aren't other ones out there, any pieces of this wreckage. I mean...
Well, yeah, what they say is that the government came along and collected most of it, but the hope is that maybe somebody will find something in an attic someday, or potentially they'll find a piece of it on that ranch ground. They've actually done some digging there.
So they have not been able to even find the smallest piece to test?
No. So there's no evidence. No smoking gun proof. Lots of witness testimony, lots of weird things happen there, but no smoking gun proof.
Right, and it's still fodder 60 years later to still talk about it. It's still fascinating.
And when we talk about it 60 years from now, they'll still be doing this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Miles, thank you. And now, by the way, tomorrow, Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind.